Are you sensitive to the simple needs of others? All three of them saw the need, but the priest and the Levite failed to serve with love. They put themselves above the need. Unless we see the need as greater than our personal priorities, we will never serve with love. The Samaritan saw this stranger with compassion. Jesus said to him in Luke 10:33, "But a Samaritan who was on a journey came upon him, and when he saw the need, he felt compassion." Do you see that? Jesus was saying here, his heart was filled with pity and pain. Do you have compassion for those in need around you? If you do, that's a great and special gift from God. We need to have a heart of God to see the needs of people around us and take action in service. Otherwise, it is useless. There are so many people whose hearts are hard and unconcerned for others. I read a story about a tragedy of a boat that sank off the Puerto Galera Channel. It was a boat designed for 60 passengers, and 90 people were placed into it, all packed into this boat. A family was part of this boat going on a vacation to an island. The wind and the waves were so tremendous that the boat sank, and passengers didn't have enough life jackets. 12 of them drowned. Among those who drowned were 2 children, their yaya and their grandmother. What was even more tragic was the fact that as the boat was sinking, there was another boat passing by, and the passengers of that boat were just taking pictures and videos, watching them struggle without offering any help or rescue. Today, as you walk about, there are so many people around you who are in need. And God wants you to open your eyes and see their needs and feel their pain and offer true love and service. These needs don't have to be about life or death. Even the most simple acts of service is what we ought to be looking for. Family, be willing to just do little acts of service and kindness to your parents and siblings. It may mean cleaning, cooking, fixing, washing, helping around the home. It may mean 1,000 different loving responses to the needs of your family. And don't wait to be told, just do it. You know, some people, they walk around with a do not disturb sign. You know what I'm talking about? Like the one they hang on the hotel room doors. Yeah, if I had one, I could show you. Oh, this is it. They hang it on their heart, silently saying, I have enough problems of my own. I don't want to take care of other people's needs. Husbands and wives, do you know what causes 90% of the problems in your marriage? Your problem is not financial. It's not emotional, physical, or even your in-laws. Those are the exterior issues. Your real problem is what? Selfishness. Yes. You think of yourself. You think of your needs. You think of your wants. You don't think of the needs of your spouse. Now, those of you who are single, listen up. I'm warning you. You must develop selflessness to be able to be willing to put up with the needs of your future spouse over and above all your own needs. Philippians chapter 2 verse 3 and 4 says, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility consider one another as more important than yourself. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. That's so clear. It's not about us. It's reaching out to other people and seeing what they need. And we do that with humility. We do that with humility. To see the need of others with compassion is to see beyond yourself. It's putting yourself in their shoes or their sandals, and it's seeing others as more important than yourself. You see, love sees beyond self and willingly serves. Samaritan do when he saw the need? Look at verse 34. The Samaritan came to him and bandaged up his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them, and he put him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. That's what he did. It was his loving response to serve. Tell me, do you think that this Samaritan brought a first aid kit in his backpack? I don't think so. Where did he get the bandage? Where? Well, here's what most likely happened. I can imagine him tearing his robe, his shirt, tunics, or whatever he had, tearing his clothes to be able to get bandage for the man. And then he poured his expensive oil and wine on the wounds. This Samaritan shared his possessions. And that's what we ought to do. We ought to share our possessions. Now, I'm not talking about material possessions alone, okay? Well, let me tell you a story. I was driving several years ago, driving home from work one night along Sukat Avenue. And as I was driving, I saw an accident happen right there. And out of one of the cars came this woman who was screaming and shouting for help. I suddenly stopped and she pleaded and begged for her husband to be brought to the hospital. Without a second thought, I opened my back door. People carried that man in and threw in the back seat. And she got in the front door and she started hammering and banging on the dashboard to rush to the hospital. I drove like a madman and she was crying and screaming the whole time. When we got to the hospital emergency driveway, I was honking my horn and medics came out and pulled the man out of the back seat. She also got out of the car and rushed inside the emergency room. And when the doors are closed, I went on my way. When I got home, I realized we didn't even exchange names. I started cleaning all the blood from the blood stains of the man in the back seat. And I actually really felt blessed in having served them. I don't know, but it was something different. The Samaritan put the half-dead man on his donkey and brought him to an inn. Can you imagine that this man's blood was pouring all over the saddle or the blanket of the donkey? 1 John 3:17 says, "But whoever has worldly goods and sees his brother or sister in need and closes his heart against him, how does the love of God remain in him?" The Good Samaritan was willing to be interrupted, to be sidetracked for a greater purpose. Part of possessions is a resource we all consider valuable, and that is time. Can you all say time? Time. He was willing to give time. He most likely was on a journey for business. And this detour, this distraction certainly cost him money. He may have lost an opportunity because this took time away from his personal plans. Remember, friends, true love always costs. If there is no cost, there is no love. God won't ask what kind of car you drove, but he may ask how many people you drove who didn't have transportation. God won't ask how big was your house, but he may ask how many people you welcomed into your home. God won't ask about the clothes you had in your closet, but he may ask how many you helped to clothe. God won't ask in what neighborhood you lived, but he may ask how you treated your neighbors. God won't ask what you did to help yourself, but he may ask what you did to help others. In verse 35, it goes on. On the next day, he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper and said, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I return, I will repay you." Do you see the heart of the Samaritan? Amazing. This is when the Good Samaritan went out of his way to save the person. Save the person. What do I mean? He was so concerned with making sure that this man survives. He told the innkeeper, "Hey, sky's the limit. Only budget. Blank check. Akong bahala." He was so concerned with the life of this half-dead stranger that he made all the necessary arrangements to ensure that he will be saved. He even was going to spend more of his precious time by coming back again to repay the debt. Isn't that so much like what Jesus has done for us? He paid every debt and promises to return again. In Matthew 25, verse 40, it says, "Truly I say to you," Jesus says, "to the extent that you did it for one of the least of these brothers or sisters of mine, you did it for me." Every time that we serve others for Jesus, we're doing it actually for Him. How does this apply to us today? One of the best ways that we can meet the need of others is by sharing the gospel message, because that saves people's spiritual lives. That is probably one of the greatest needs of others, that we can serve in the love of Jesus. You know, honestly, sometimes I feel overwhelmed by all the opportunities that God gives me to serve others. Oftentimes, I feel I have little to offer the people I see who have needs to be served. But I take great comfort from the truth that Jesus can do a lot with a little. If we offer to Jesus the little that we have, He can multiply it and meet the needs of those people. Let's look at point number 2. Point number 2, Jesus demonstrates the love that serves. Jesus Himself demonstrates the love that serves. As we continue, we are witnesses of Jesus Himself now in action. In John 13, verse 1, it says, "Now before the feast of the Passover, Jesus, knowing that His hour had come, that He would depart from this world to the Father, having loved His own who were in the world," notice this, He loved them to the end. That was the love of Jesus to all of His disciples. The Gospels tell us that the disciples had been arguing among themselves about who among them was the greatest. Can you imagine? In the last moments of Jesus, they were saying, "I'm the greatest. No, I'm the greatest." Jesus said to them in Luke 22, verse 26 and 27, He said this, "But it is not this way for you. Rather, the one who is the greatest among you must become like the youngest, and the leader like the servant. For who is greater, the one who reclines at the table or the one who serves?" Notice that. Is it not the one who reclines at the table? But I am among you as the one who serves. What a rebuke from Jesus to His disciples. It was common courtesy for the host of any home to provide a servant to do the lowest menial task of washing visitors' feet. But this was something that was overlooked. For some reason, there was no servant around. But since all the disciples wanted to be the greatest, no one was willing to do the task of washing the other's feet. Jesus here lives up to His word when He said in Mark 10:45, and this is our memory verse, remember this? "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give His life as a ransom for many."